Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a Q without a U, and I've also got the J as a high-scoring tile. I've got the A, which can go with the Q to make cat, were my opponent to play a T. I've also got the three-letter word J, which is playable from my rack. Apart from the Q, this is a reasonably balanced rack, where it ought to be possible to score reasonably well. The problem with scoring reasonably well is that one is keeping the Q and is therefore dependent on drawing an I or a U to get rid of it. So there is a risk that the Q can stay on your rack and act as a drag on your score, even when you're scoring reasonably well. Because as long as the Q is on your rack, you're unlikely to play a bingo. Now, there is a T for cat, so I could play QAT. That's only 12 points. So the alternative is to play J. Let's see what that scores. That's 8 more points. Gosh. So cat or J? Well, I think I'm going to play cat. It's a lower score, but it's always good to get rid of the Q, and the letters that are left ought to give me a good score next go. Okay. These eyes aren't great. It would be nice to split them up, but I can still see J as being the main short word available on this rack. I do have the I to go next to Q to make chi. So I'm just looking to see if I've got a word ending in I or playing through the A of talc. But I can't see one. I could play J or jam through the A of cat, but that wouldn't score very much, and it would leave 4 vowels on my rack, so it'd be asking for trouble for the next go. Okay, well, my opponent has not opened up anything. I'm just looking to see if I can now put the I next to the Q. My priority really is to play off the vowels rather than playing off the J, because with the J on my rack, that's a reasonable insurance policy such that I ought to be able to score. But if I play it off and have a whole bunch of vowels, I'm not certain to score. Well, I could just play Mina, M-I-N-A. Since the board is so tight, it's not necessarily a bad thing to keep it that way. Now, what I could play is meanie. I wouldn't ordinarily play off my E for just 1 point. Well, but this does stop me keeping an excess of vowels. Well, I have a few more options now, a few more short words with a J in it. The board is exceptionally tight, so there's no guarantee that any word will play. I do have fabric onto the C of talc. It wouldn't score very much, but there are not scoring opportunities on this board. Or very few. That's one of them. Well, I can play J above moderate. What else is there? Let's see what that scores first of all, because this will certainly be my target. That's 44. Now the other main scoring opportunity to consider would be down from A8. But I can't see a word which plays down there. And even if there were such a word, it's not clear to me that it would score a great deal more than I'm getting for J. I could play Jabir in the same spot as I'm playing J, but that wouldn't be better because it opens up the triple word column, or the triple word squares in column 15. Now this isn't looking too good. It's a long way from a bingo. There aren't many words available on the rack, and I am 14 points behind. Frib is good. I'm looking at column 8 onto the D of moderate to see if I have a play in that position. Braid is there, but I'd like to play off 2 out of B, F and P. I don't mind keeping one of them, but I would like to play off 2 of them. And I'd like the ones I played off to include the F because that's the least bingo-y of the 3. But frayed isn't good. And in any event only plays off 1. Okay, well I'm not going to achieve that end. Frib does play in row C above J, and that will be for a decent score. It will place the B in column 15, but that's not a particularly dangerous tile because of the number of bingos that it features in. I may also be able to play underneath moderate because jab and jap and jar are all good. I don't have a tile which goes underneath the R of moderate, so it would need to begin with the letter 2 under J. 2 under the J. And that's not going to work because at the moment I don't have a tile which goes underneath at, but it's possible that my opponent will play in row C and I may be enabled to play in that spot. Okay, another bingo for my opponent. Has he opened up any opportunities for me to score more than Frib? Let's see what Frib scores first. Frib is 36 points, that's a good score. The leave of APR is fine. I can't see anything better through or parallel to Dota's. Now, this is looking much better. But I don't have an E. So do I have a bingo? There is an E available in moderated, but it would require me to put the S on the end of talc. So there's Playster, Platters, I'm sure there's some others. Well, it's not, or they are not coming to mind. Just wondering if there is a 7, which I could put onto the end, the S on the end of Dotas. And I can't see one. There's the L in talc, which is available to begin a bingo or to be the second tile in a word beginning SL. If I had a floating A, I would have partials, patrials, or triapsal. I'm still trying to think of the other ones through the E. I think it's more than just placed as pilaster. Pilaster, plaster, platters. That may be it. And I've also got the C of talc. So do I have a bingo going through that? Clip arts. Oh, fantastic. I would have been disappointed to miss this, but it is a difficult word to see. It hasn't got a standard prefix or suffix, so it is very easy to miss. And this is probably quite a crucial stage in the game. If I had overlooked clip arts, if there was no other bingo available, then this would be a significant miss. 89 points is a lot. And that's looking pretty good. I have a lot of floaters available in clip arts. I'm only 8 points behind. Column 15 is pretty hot with the all 3 triple word squares available. I have the mono prefix. Oh, I'm just thinking about N moves with a double O in it. Not sure about that. I would have venomous through a U. There isn't one at the moment. I don't think I do have a playable bingo with this rack. But it's fairly close to a bingo, so I'm looking to play off the V, play off one of the O's. And then apart from that, I'm looking for score. Now I could play Venom at H12. That would score reasonably well. It would leave OS, which isn't a great leave, compared to EMOS or ENOS. But it would score well. I've got OMOVs, which burns the S, but I can play that at K15 for 41 points. And even though it's nice to hold on to the S, if you get enough points, it's a matter of what is the winningest play. So I need to keep OMOVs in mind. Venom is 38 points, so Venom would be superior to OMOV because it only scores 3 points less. And I'm valuing the S at about 8 points. That's my rule of thumb. That can change depending on particular circumstances, but I don't think there are any operating circumstances on this board. I would like to resolve this rack quickly while there are so many floaters available on the board, because I'd like to get in with another bingo. I can play moved at A8. 36 points. Again, retains the S. It's better than OMOVs. So OMOVs is not going to be played. I'm either going to play, at the moment, Venom or moved. There are 45 tiles left, and my opponent has already used up more than half his time. I've still got 14 minutes on my clock. That's probably because I've been able to do my thinking on my opponent's time. Now, let's have a look at Venom. I was expecting my opponent to play in column 15, so I hadn't fully explored what was available in that column. I can do that now. Venom's for 38. The high scoring place to consider in column 15 would be ones which place the tile next to Tsar. Now, only the S on my rack works for that. I'd then have to put the E next to at, so I'm looking at a word with SE in it. I'm not going to be able to play my V, so I think Venom is the best I've seen. Again, a sort of fairly balanced rack, but the two G's and the U really impact its bingo potential. And I don't have any scoring tiles. So I'm looking in column 8 to see if I've got a word playable onto the D of moderated. Glued works. It does use my E. There are 6 E's unseen. It would certainly be nice to play off both G's. The third G is still unseen. But even if it weren't, the G is not a great letter to keep. And I don't have the I or the N, which would improve the value of retaining the G. I can't see a word playable from A8 down which uses both G's. Okay, my opponent's played Dickie for 38. He is now 28 points ahead. He's also stopped me playing down column 15. Well, actually he hasn't. Odds does take an O after it. And I can't see a word apart from Ogles, which plays in that spot, and I'm not going to play Ogles. Only scores 29 points. I think I can do better. Let's just see what Guile scores down here. £30 points, that's pretty good. GOS isn't great because it's retaining the G, but I can't see a way of scoring well and playing off both G's and the U. And I'd rather retain a G than a U. And I note in particular that there are 3 U's unseen. Well, this is a poor rack. It's a long way from being a bingo, but I ought to be able to resolve it. The priority is clear: to play off the W, to play off one of the O's. My opponent's doing well in terms of score. He's keeping the scoring going. He's got a 32-point lead. The board is becoming blocked. I've really only got the floaters in at the end of clip arts, the T and the S. So it would be good to open up the top left-hand side of the board by playing down onto the D of moderated. So I could play wooed. And I think this may be the only way of opening up this top sector. Still retains the G, but getting rid of the W, sorting out the duplicate O's was a higher priority than playing off that G. There are still 2 blanks unseen, which would certainly assist with playing a bingo while having a G on one's rack. Well, this looks promising, but do I have anything? Goodiest doesn't... Well, I don't think Goodiest is good for a start, so I'm not going to get too excited about that. Goodies is good. Now the S of clip arts is still available. My opponent has slowed down. He's only got 12 for Iwi. It would be really annoying to miss a playable bingo with this rack. These are very high probability tiles. So, is there an anagram of goodiest? Not that I can see, and apart from the O, there's only the W as a floater from wooed. And wodgiest isn't good. I'm fairly sure there isn't one through that. So the only other floaters are the T and the S of clip arts, and the T's inhibited because I would have to place an S after iwi. Well, one thing I could do with this rack is to play off gob. The rack leave of DEIST is really good. Goes well with the O in wooed, and anything goes well with the S in clip arts. And 18 isn't a bad score for playing off just 2 tiles. I'll just check that I can't score more by playing here. Nope, that's 2 fewer. Now, is this the right thing to do? Well, I could play dog in column 11. The D and the S aren't great tiles to keep together, because the D contributes to ED ending words and the S contributes to S ending words. Now look at this, this is 27 points, this is a lot more points. And EIST is pretty good. And by playing off that extra tile, I also increased my chances of drawing a blank, which I have now done. I am sure I have got a bingo playable, but do I have 2 bingos playable? Now the easy one is going to be row O, and I think my opponent may take that out. He doesn't. So row O, all these tiles score the same, so it doesn't matter what goes on the double letter square at O4 as long as it's not the blank. So outsides works. I don't need to look for a better bingo in that spot. What I do need to consider is a bingo through the W of wooed, and there are far more bingos beginning with a W than ending with a W, and a bingo on the top row would score more. On the other hand, very few bingos have a W compared to bingos with an S, so if I took the greater score by playing through the W, I would be leaving row O open for my opponent, which I don't want to do. I am 1 point ahead at this moment. So let's see if I can draw the second blank. No, but I do draw the X, and I am now 75 points ahead. But looking at the tiles that are left, they're quite a bingo-y selection. So my opponent may have a bingo through the W or the O of wooed, or onto the E of uoi. If he doesn't take out the floaters in wooed, it's going to be tempting to play axe. Make that X in column 9, putting the X on the double letter square. That's going to score over 30 points, and it's going to take out all of the, or inhibit all of the floaters. Actually, that would be a nice play because EX does take an H in front of it, and I've got both of them. So that in my next move I could play a word with WH starting at A8, again keeping the score ticking over. There are 5 tiles in the bag and 7 on my opponent's rack. So my opponent is going to be looking to bingo this move or next, because after that the bag is going to be empty. If my opponent, well, cancel that, both C's have gone. I was just observing that hex arcs might be playable. My opponent's taken out the bingo lane with the ending in E, but he's opened up a much more valuable one in column 1. Now, the problem I have with playing EX is that it empties the bag. I don't want to do that. I am 60 points ahead. Let's just see what this scores. I'm 60 ahead. This scores 36, so I'd be 96 points ahead. But I've got 11 points on my rack, so you've got to take away 22 points from 96 to leave 74. My opponent would need 74 to draw, 75 to win. If he plays a bingo in column 1, he will exceed that. So EX is unlikely to be the winningest play. Looking at the tiles that are left, my opponent may well have a bingo. Well, has he got a bingo? They look like a reasonable set of letters, but they include the ing ending, and that doesn't play in column 1. So, what to do? Now, I'm just wondering if I can play in column 1, taking advantage of the triple word square at H1. I'd be looking to play a word which ended AX or EX. And I haven't got one of those, so I can't play in that spot. So the next thing to consider is, can I score more than what I was getting for EX, which was 36 points. And by score more, I'm also taking into account the rack leave. Now EX left 8 points. Sorry, 11 points on my rack, which wasn't good. So where is my opponent going to bingo? Maybe I'm wrong to consider column 1. If my opponent does have a G or an N, he's going to struggle to play in column 1. The O's in wooed may well be just what he's looking for. So what else can I do to obstruct wooed? Is EX the only move I have? It would be nice to play a move beginning EXHE through the E of moderated. That would benefit both score and rack leave. Well, I can't see such a word. X certainly obstructs the O's. I don't think the W is particularly dangerous. This is really, really tricky. Because, well, it's hard full stop to identify all the candidate plays, but it's also the case that the difference between the plays is likely to be the difference between winning and losing. There's likely to be a high variation between the winningness of the various candidate plays. And it doesn't really matter that this scores 36 points, because if my opponent's got a bingo, he wins. So it could just as well score 24 points. The advantage of this move is that it's blocking the floaters in wooed. Well, this is an agonizing decision, and it may be the wrong one, but I am going with this. So, what does my opponent have? He does have the blank. He does have ing, which is good. He's got pfennig. That would be very nice with the blank as an F. He does have pfennig playable in column 1. I wonder if he's going to spot that. That would certainly win. Just wondering if he has anything in row A. Well, he'd have to use the blank to go in front of the E and the X. I don't think he's got anything ending in the W. So I don't think he does have a row A bingo. So if he spots Pfennig, he wins. If he doesn't, he probably loses, because I'm 96 points ahead at this stage. Pfennig's not an easy word to spot, but I get the impression that my opponent is playing to a reasonably high standard, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did find it. If he doesn't, I get an extra play, and I don't have a great rack at all. I only have one vowel, and there aren't many floating vowels on the board. My opponent has 4 minutes to find Pfennig. There may be other bingos which play in that spot, but I can't see them. I do have HAO playable at C7. It would score reasonably well. It would leave me with 5 consonants, but I think I'm only going to get a maximum of 1 more move in this game. If my opponent doesn't spot Pfennig, he's going to go out in 2. So I will only have one move at most. So playing a move which leaves 5 consonants is neither here nor there. I'm just comparing score and rack leave to choose the optimal play. How is 29 points and would leave 8 points on my rack. So that would be about a 13-point net gain. What else is available? I think any high-scoring player is likely to use one of my H's. Well, I'm guessing my opponent hasn't spotted Pfennig yet, because there'd be no reason not to play it as soon as he saw it. I am looking around the board to see if there are any other places apart from how. I could place my H at J10 to make hon, but unfortunately I can't play a word parallel to dog. Well, this wait is quite agonizing. Sometimes it's easier to spot moves on your opponent's rack than it is your own. There it goes. Okay. And the final score is 453 to 438. That's a winning margin of just 15 for my opponent. That was an excellent game. Let's see what I missed. Well, J and cat were the two options. It's not possible to say without analysis which was better. Well, this is where I played meanie, and I could have played J at 9F. Could I? 9F? Oh, making talkie. Gosh, didn't consider that. EIIM as the leave. Yeah, that probably was a bit better than meanie. Wow, I really didn't consider the Y ending for talc. I certainly should have done. J was the best move there. And yep, looks like Frib was the best. Clip Arts was the only bingo, so I'm delighted to have spotted that. Now here, this is where I played, well, I didn't play Moved at A8, did I? I played Venom for 38 points. If I'd played Moved, I would have retained the N, but only dropped 2 points. Okay. Okay, not quite sure how to reply to that person. I hope he doesn't think I'm being rude. Anyway, so probably not a great deal between Moved and Venom. And this is where I played Guile. And I could have played Ghoul at 15G. Oh, gosh. Gosh, that would have been great. That would have been really nice. I probably overlooked the Vatu hook. So Guile for only 30 keeping GOS. I could have got 53 playing the same tiles in column 15, so that was a miss. Wooed looks like it was best there. And Dog at I11. Did I play that? Yep. And here, this is where I played outsides. There were bingos through the W, wideouts and wipeouts. And they would have scored 9 more points. But I still think outsides was better for the reason cited in the video at the time. So I could have played Raxes. Ooh. For 43 points. Okay. Now that would have been 43 take away 16. That would have been a 27 point play. Yeah. Okay. Well, the downside of Raxes is that it would have opened up a bingo lane in column 2. So it's difficult to know whether Raxes or X was better. And that was the end of the game. So a great play by my opponent in winning a closely fought battle. I think that was a fairly high quality game, apart from the miss of GULE when I played Guile. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.